All right, I have 4:38. This time we will call the meeting of the Canyon City Commission to order. With that, Commissioner Kramer, would you lead us in invocation?
Well, will you pray with me? Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord, and we just thank you for this community. Thank you, Lord, for the rain that you've provided over the last few weeks. We ask that you continue to provide that moving forward. Lord, we ask that you continue to be with the families that were affected by the wildfires in our area and continue to just pour into them and help them move forward with rebuilding. Lord, we thank you for all of the wonderful people that work for the city and the people that live here. Thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed upon us. Be with us as we move forward and help make the best decisions possible for where we live. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I hand over your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That takes us to the approval of the minutes of the meeting of June 2nd, 2026.
No changes, I move we approve.
I have a motion and second to approve as written. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. Public comment, comments from interested citizens. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we'd like to go ahead and present the Excellence Award for our City Secretary. It's right over by next to you, between you and Paul, if you want to pull it out. This is presented by the Texas Municipal Clerks Association, the Office of the City Secretary. So we, through Gretchen, are one of only 42 designations in the state of Texas that have received this wonderful credential that she has put a lot of time and effort into. With that, there are 1,250 plus incorporated cities in Texas, so we're one of very few on this. But we would like to do a picture with Gretchen and the whole commission to present this official award. This hangs up in Gretchen's office, so she knows what she's doing. If this is stolen from the wall when she retires, I will file a police report with Steve Brush. I think it's 1,500, Cody. Is that elevate? You guys put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's very time consuming. Way to go, Gretchen.
Congratulations.
We're very proud.
All right. Takes us to item number 6. Hold a public hearing and consider and take appropriate action on ordinance 1253, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, rezoning the property being described as a 2.46 acre tract situated in section 34, block B5, HGNN Railroad Company Survey, Randall County, Texas, out of a 7.54 acre tract described in general warranty deed recorded under a clerk's file number 202-502-0622 is defined in the attached Exhibit A, providing that the zoning classification be posted upon the zoning district maps of the City of Canyon, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are expressly repealed, and providing for an effective date. Proposed zoning from SF 43, single family agriculture residential district, to RC 2, commercial district. Dustin.
Sorry about that legal description.
Yeah.
it's an unplatted piece of property, and so there's no good, this is Hidden Valley Edition Unit number 13, which is what it's going to be, once they replat zone. So what this agenda item is Mr. Jesse Arredondo with OJD Engineering, submitted a rezoning application to rezone this piece of property, which actually is the old bus barn, that sits on 8th Street. This property was recently sold by Canyon Independent School District. They didn't realize, I think at the time that they went to sell the property, that it was actually outside the city limits. So it went through the full annexation property and got annexed into the city. Typically, when there's not a plan in place, when somebody's not presenting an annexation and they're not saying, hey, we want to develop this as a residential community or a commercial business, SF 43 is our default zone. So when it's being presented to be sold, it comes into the city with SS 43. So what that means is that's a single family agricultural zoning district. So it's kind of a basic zoning district. It allows for single family houses on a minimum of 1 acre lot sizes. So when they came to me and they asked for this to be subdivided, I said I can't really subdivide this with the existing structures as they exist, because those structures are very much commercial. And I had actually already visited with the applicant, which is Mr. Trent Morgan, who said that he wanted to retain that usage of those individual shops like they were. And so I visited with Chuck, actually went over there because I think the original question was maybe to zone it industrial or something like that. Obviously, everything in this area is all it's right on the edge of the city limits, but it's all residential in usage and in character. However, this is the old bus barn. It's been used as the old bus barn going way back. I can't remember the date Chuck told me. Chuck knows the history in his head. But it's been used as a commercial property with buses coming in and out of there as a mechanic shop. And so this is to retain that nature of what's already existing and what's already there. So I did notify all property owners within 200 feet. I think it was 7 property owners that got notified. At the time of writing, I had only received 1 back. I did receive 3 back. 2 of them were in support of this, and 1 was opposed to it. Just they were worried about being commercial in nature. But like I said, it's not really changing the use that's existing. Planning and Zoning Commission considered this rezoning request last night at their meeting and voted 5-0 to approve this, recommend this for approval to you guys. And I can answer any questions you'll have.
Voted by what?
Yes, it was unanimous. Yeah.
Probably have sewer water.
I asked that question before Tanner and Chris. I didn't get a good answer, but I think that piece does, which is another reason why they needed to annex that. Serve sewer or water outside city limits. If you will scroll down one more. That right there is the pending plat. That will be Hidden Valley Unit number 13, which will be a lot easier in the description. Lot 1 will be the RC2 zoning district, and Lot 2, the individual that wants to buy that works for Trent Morgan and for the single family home on that. So SF 43 is certainly appropriate for Lot 2, but not for Lot 1.
Do you have the people that were in favor of and against? Do you have those with you?
I didn't bring them with me. I had the mobile home, the individuals that represented the mobile home park were the opposing. The 4 was Dr. Felucci submitted in support of, and the other one is in your packet actually.
I don't know if it made it in there, Dustin. It's not in there.
None.
The other one, it was a local.
So Dustin, do we know, do they intend to rent them out as shops then? Is that what?
That's my understanding, is to retain that kind of hobbyist shops or mechanic shops, that type of usage.
I will say, if you haven't driven by there, and I can speak to this because I'm with the school district, they've actually done some work to it. It actually looks much better than it even did when the school district had it. So they've put in new garage doors, they've painted it. They've actually done some things to it. I don't know what they've done interior wise, but the exterior does look better.
Brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Painted them white, I think, they do look good. And I did speak to the property owner that is directly across the street from these. And she was just asking general questions, and she's, she didn't submit a letter, just kind of bitched about it. She's like, well, if it continues as the current procedure, she's direct at her section.
Are there any other questions for Dustin? We do need to conduct a public hearing. Go ahead and open the public hearing.
Nobody signed in here.
We will close the public hearing.
I move we adopt ordinance number 1253 as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to adopt, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, takes us to item number 7. Consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1254, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, adopting a water conservation plan, establishing goals for the reduction of water consumption, reducing the loss and waste of water, improving efficiency in the use of water, and extending the life of current water supplies. In compliance with the requirements of the Texas Water Code and the TCEQ, providing for a repealer and providing for effective date. So, you doing this one too?
Yes, sir, I'm doing this.
Okay, very good.
Yep, I'm Chris today. I'm the staff. Don't have as good a haircut, Chris haircut. So the city of Canyon is required to submit a water conservation plan and drought contingency plan every 5 years to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. In 2024, the 2019 water conservation plan underwent a clerical update. So they updated the population numbers, the water connections, the new retail connections, and the annual and seasonal water usage cited in the water conservation plan. The objectives in the water conservation plan were unchanged, and they include reducing the loss of waste of water, improving efficiency in the use of water, documenting the level of recycling and reuse in the water supply, and extending the life of current water supplies by reducing the rate of growth in demand. So there are goals and strategies related to each one of these objectives in that water conservation plan. The updated water conservation plan was submitted to TCEQ in 2024. However, it did need the approval of this body to be considered a approval submission. So that's what I'm doing here today, is submitting the water conservation plan for you guys. One of the reasons why I'm presenting this right now, and we didn't wait for Chris to get back, is House Bill 500 has created a very significant grant funding opportunity for water infrastructure projects really throughout the state of Texas. So staff were actively working on developing an application to the Texas Water Development Board to be considered for funding for really a unique grant opportunity that offers up to about $20 million in funding for water infrastructure projects. So as one of those requirements is having an adopted and approved water conservation plan. That's what we're asking you guys today. Hopefully I can answer any questions about Texas Water Development Board application. I'll give my best shot on water conservation plan.
Commission, just to remind everybody, we are working with a task force to look at water sustainability. In addition, there will be a subcommittee outside of that task force that will look at the conservation plan. We do intend to really go deep in this water conservation plan with that subcommittee in the near future. And So right now, we have to get this approved, the formality of it, to be able to have as much points to apply for this Water Development Board grant. That grant goes all the way up to 21 million with zero match. And so we have a lot of boxes to check, and we've been doing that for the last 6 months. Our annual household median income here is high. That hurts us. In order to capitalize on every point, we have to get things dang near shovel ready. And so this is one of those formalities. We will dive into the water conservation plan deeper. And so we will go over some of the stuff. That is one of the commission's goals to the city organization that we're going to continue to work through. We are gearing up for that right now.
When you say you're gonna go into it deeper, do you mean you're gonna change this plan?
We're going to go and look at it. I've already submitted this to Mr. Hartman, who we have brought online, to get some of his takes. We haven't had a long discussion on that yet. But yes, we're going to go into some of this. And a lot of this, these apply to some of the comments that we have heard on conservation, maybe even some rebate programs, looking at landscape ordinances, for new homes and existing, cash for grass programs. I think we want to make sure that some of these are like at the high level, like, hey, this is our goal for water, such and such. And so how can we get to that? So it has water loss in there, what we desire. And so sometimes it's hard. We have to do water loss reports in there. There'll be a lot of explaining and detection and, how AMR system, automatic meter reader system, has helped in a lot of that. But, there are goals in here and targets that we aim at. We want to continue to do that. And some of that will take strategic initiatives.
But the goals didn't necessarily change. You'll
No.
just change the data going into goals.
That's what they have changed today, yes, to update those. It's a lot of change.
No change in strategies or goals.
Nope, we're gonna go over all of that with that subcommittee.
This is about just meeting that requirement. And this is what the state had required us to do. So that's what this does. And now what we really want to do in Camden, Texas, USA, I think that's what your committee's
Correct.
going to be looking at.
Some of this in here, Cody, is boilerplate.
For sure.
And if you remember, Gary, we always had that discussion with Dan, I always asked about the difference between these two things.
Right.
Between
And
that
that
and
always
drop
got
off.
confusing, and we never did that. You were about to do that. You're about to really,
Dig into it.
yes.
I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, item number 8, first reading of resolution number 17-2026, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon approving a project funding agreement between City of Canyon and Canyon Economic Development Corporation relating to direct financial assistance for matching grant dollars from the MPO for downtown revitalization.
Yeah, or Rob again.
Yeah, so Michael is not able to be here tonight, so this is just the CEDC did vote and approve to pledge up to $250,000 as matching with the city and the MPO grant at $50,000 a year for the next 5 years for the downtown revitalization project.
Cool. Very good. Yeah, I think it's a very worthwhile piece with all the momentum we've got going on in downtown. So,
There was a public hearing at the EDC and there was no one signed in to speak, so there was no objection.
Also, Mr. Mayor, as I've mentioned to the commission, the downtown flash vote survey goes out tomorrow. So it's only like 5, 6, 7 questions. So hopefully we'll get some good results from that.
all right, this is no action, first reading only. Item number 9, consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 16-2026, a a resolution by the city of Canyon, Texas, supporting the application and acceptance of the fiscal year 25 FEMA Safer Grant for the hiring of 3 full-time firefighters for the Canyon Fire Department, and authorizing the fire chief to represent the city in all matters pertaining to the administration of the grant. Is that correct on fiscal year 25?
Yes, that is fiscal year 25. Dennis, is that correct?
Those funds will be.
Okay.
Mayor, Commission, I believe it was just like the day before our last commission meeting, have no order FEMA sprung this one on us, as well as several other, grant opportunities, but, we're just asking for permission once again, to apply for a safer grant for 3 full-time firefighter positions. The funding will be, first 2 years, federal funding will be, 75%, and the last year will be 35%. So that means the city will have a match of 25% of the funding for the positions the first 2 years, and of 65%.
Chief Gwen and I have had a lot of conversations. We will talk about this in depth in budget, as we look at our budget moving forward. It is still our position that we need 6, but due to financial constraints, we think we can only do 3 in a safer. But Chief Gwen's desire is to have, how many on a shift? 6 per shift, so total of 18 firefighters. Online staff. We still need a full-time fire marshal on top of it. But that's kind of been what we've talked about the last 2 or 3 years on this. So I believe last year, only 4 of these were awarded in the state of Texas. That sounds about right.
Overall, the whole program, there was only over $3 billion in requests. They had $324 million to give out, so it's very good. You can see, Bo has provided some information on what the city's responsibility will be during the grant period. He's here to answer any questions.
We'll give it another shot.
I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Chief. All right, item number 10, consider and take appropriate action on the purchase of street maintenance service on Hunsley Road from Intermountain Slurry Seal, Inc. Bo?
Hunsley Road needs repairs, but the expected cost for those repairs is about $5 million today. Current funding plan, including some potential MPO grant funding, the city would have the resources for that repair project in about 7 years. In the meantime, the city's street department would like to conduct microsurfacing maintenance on Hunsley to extend the life of the street surface until the city is ready to make those repairs. The proposed street maintenance service agreement with Intermountain Slurry Seal would include 17,280 square yards of street for $172,197.50. This agreement is part of a cooperative agreement with the Interlocal Purchasing System, or TIPS, that is managed by the Region 8 Education Service Center. However, the agreement does not include street striping or markings, and staff is pursuing bid processes or other cooperative agreement for that part of the service. As of today, there are $441,978 remaining in this year's budget for street maintenance projects, which is more than enough to include the proposed seal coating maintenance. Staff recommends the purchase of street maintenance services for Hunsley Grove from Intermountain Slurry Seal Incorporated.
Is that gonna take away from any other plans of street maintenance, seal coat, in the rest of the city, or?
So the other plan is to do brick maintenance. We're doing 100,000 in brick maintenance. That should be coming soon. There's gonna be 9 to 10 spots. Let's say a big chunk of them will be on 7th. It seems to be the worst one. So that is separate from this.
I wish Chris and Tanner were here to specify exactly where the start stop is, but about Crestview Elementary to in front of Walmart.
think it goes a little further than that. I think it may go down to the church, all to
Freedom Fellowship.
Freedom Fellowship. Yeah, I think it starts around Freedom. Yeah, back to the west, yes, sir. I believe it starts maybe around there. I think it's where TxDOT, we're trying to do where TxDOT ended, all the way down. The biggest problem is right there in front of the school. It's really taking a beat.
Is that a motion?
Come on, you can do it.
$172,197.50.
Move to authorize the purchase of street maintenance service for Hunsley Road from Intermountain Slurry Seal Incorporated.
Motion and a second to authorize the purchase. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Bill. All right, next item, number 11, we are going to discuss annexation of properties in city ETJ with existing conditions present. Dustin.
So this agenda item is really just to start facilitating a discussion on looking at the annexation of properties that perhaps already have certain uses already on them. We actually introduced this topic to Planning and Zoning Commission last night and had a pretty good discussion on it. Typically, what we've typically dealt with in the past is annexation of properties that really are kind of a blank slate, right? They're pretty rural, they're looking to develop the property, whether that's, for residential development, I think is probably largely, what we're seeing, or commercial development of those things. It's kind of that blank slate, and we have this nice clean blank slate to work with. But obviously, as properties continue to develop into ETJ, they're developing really on, county regulations, county standards. They don't have probably any building inspections or anything like that associated with them. So it presents kind of a unique opportunity or a unique situation for us as people may come to us. Obviously we don't sell water and sewer outside the city limits. And so if somebody comes to us and they want to be annexed into the city, and they already have, a facility there, maybe there's a billboard or a certain condition already existing on that property. How do we want to assess that? How do we want to look at that? It's unique, right? And so that presents all kinds of unique challenges and unique perspectives. So typically when you annex something like that, they're probably not built to code, right? Because there's nobody out there inspecting that. The county regulations are different. And so there's going to be a situation there that they are going to be legal non-conforming. And so how do you look at that? How do you rectify that? Do you? And so with Planning and Zoning Commission, we had a pretty good discussion about that. They didn't formally bring any policy recommendations, and really this is kind of pushing that rock off the edge and kind of get the ball rolling and kind of start thinking through some of these things. Staff is currently doing some active research, and we're reaching out to our counterparts on how are other municipalities dealing with these kind of situations. If you have within the city, if you have a zoning change that happened, and that zoning change created a use that now is legal and non-conforming, there's a lot of different ways that you can treat that use, right? And in some instances, some cities have tried a time basis. You're allowed to continue to do that for a certain period of time, and then we expect it to conform the current zoning standards or something. That can be somewhat problematic. Pretty good discussion with P&Z on, is it worth doing the cost benefit analysis? Look at these on a case by case basis, or is there a standard with a cost benefit analysis that maybe you want to look at these? A lot of times when you're looking at annexation of something that's existing, state law in a lot of situations will require that road to come with it. Well, you can almost be guaranteed the road's not built to city standards, right? It's probably smaller, it doesn't have a curb and gutter, all of those kinds of things. And so there's probably a cost associated with the maintenance. And how do we bring that up? Do we bring that up to city standards? So all of those kinds of things go into that conversation where you want to look at, zoning standards, design standards? Are there any planning issues with, as we continue to stretch north, what are our emergency services response times like as we continue to stretch north? And so all of those things can go into a cost benefit analysis, or looking at things on a case by case basis. On a positive, on the opportunity side, as people come to us, obviously you're expanding your tax base, you're expanding, hopefully, primarily what we're kind of thinking about is commercial properties, so you're looking at expanding that sales tax, really better long-term planning, long-term control. I can tell you, going back, I worked for the city of Amarillo in the planning department, and municipalities had a lot more control over development in ETJ. And the reason for that is, as these things want to be incorporated or annexed into the city, you know what condition they're in, you know that they're ready to come into the city. Over the years, since, I went to regional planning for a long time and didn't realize how vastly things have changed, that the state has really pulled the ability to regulate those things in the ETJ away from municipalities. So now about the only thing that we regulate, that we even can regulate in the ETJ is signage.
Which has changed.
Yes, yep. And so, yeah, that's a big change and really kind of eliminates the usability, the functionality of an EPA to a certain extent. So like I said, we had a good discussion at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and just kind of wanted to give this to you guys. There's no action required on this, but just kind of wanted to throw this out to you guys that, as you have lots of development in your extraterritorial jurisdiction, as these might come about and they might want city water or city sewer, looking at the cost of extending infrastructure, this would be a factor in that as well. So, just wanted to get the ball rolling and throw that out to you guys and start thinking kind of go with everything.
No, we're just kind of looking for some policy direction from this body and the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is really this body's kind of determination if they have any interest in that. The ball that really changed is, on 27, 60, and 87, the billboard signage changed. We do allow billboards on those roadways, on the highways, except for electronic billboards. Those are still prohibited, as long as the billboards meet text dot requirements. And so with that changing, that's been a lot of the dialogue from the last 10 to 20 years. Is there any palatability to possibly, when something occurs on a case-by-case basis, to bring that forward to have a discussion on annexing? And so I've had at least 3, if not 4, since I've been here, where we've had some discussions. I know Michael's had people reach out wanting EDC funding. Well, they weren't in the city limits, and we've not really had much experience giving out EDC dollars for job creation outside of our corporate limits. And so we've turned several away. I know we had a long discussion, and I think Robin will remember, with the cabinet shop. The cabinet shop was expanding over by CIC administration, talked about coming in, and we were talking with Craig about fire suppression and some of that, and it never came to be. But they were expanding, they doubled up their shop, and they had a lot of job creation, a lot of good value. But we're seeing some of these on a case-by-case basis. We just don't feel we have enough policy direction from this body and the planning and zoning, to really make a direction change, especially since the change in the billboard. So a lot of people have left the ETJ for billboard. That's been the product. Is that, or Mr. W, the fireworks place, or whatever it is.
Fireworks or
Yeah.
billboards, removals.
Mostly billboard related. We just want to put this out here as a conversation starter for you guys to think about it. Cost benefit analysis did come up from the P&Z. There is a way that we can figure those out. I know John and I have done that in the past. We've worked with an outfit. We feel we could probably do that, but does this commission, if we do have this opportunity, is it an expectation that the staff deliver the message? Okay, well, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to extend water. That's cost going to be on you. We'll oversee it, we'll approve it. The city will have the option to oversize. I think even some of those low-hanging fruit discussion items would be appropriate from this body to kind of give us some direction on that, or at least give us some guidance when these comes. All of these will be a case-by-case basis. I don't see where that doesn't work its head and it doesn't get back to this body. But if we had at least a little bit of some roadmaps to maybe work with to get it here, that would be appreciated. From the finance side, you could have property tax sales tax, solid waste, water, and sewer. So those are the 5 big streams. Craig and I have had lots of discussions on this, on what Dustin mentioned about coming into conformance. Personally, we have a lot in town. Craig and I were talking about this, pretty good dialogue. A lot in town that are not in conformance with codes. Not everything was built in 1 year. My house was built in the 60s, and there's a lot of things that it doesn't have up to our 2024, whatever our codes are now. But that's just what it is. Some of that won't be any different than annexing that in our mind. I do think, from my own personal standpoint, we use the 50,000 rule on commercial. So if they meet that 50,000 threshold on an improvement, that's when they bring things up to code. That's what we're doing in town now. That seems to probably be where I'm mentally at on that. So just keep that in mind. That's what we do. And we're just talking commercial, not talking residential. This is commercial. Craig, anything to add to that? So that's kind of what we're doing now on the commercial side. When they have that 50,000 threshold, that's when things have to come in on it. That's a lot. There's a lot of facets and factors on this. So it's not a simple topic.
Talking about fire suppression, there's probably certain critical safety items that say those changes have to be made. I would think, to bring them.
I know we had struggle with that with the cabinet shop. Obviously, the cabinet shop's going to have a lot higher fire danger than a normal shop would, just because of the nature of cutting and wood. And I know there's some of that dialogue with Craig and Stephanie Tucker when we were discussing it. But we could require that. People will shy away from that. That was ultimately what that deterred the factor of that, because I was having a hard time getting over that too. And I know we discussed that, but that's ultimately probably what led for that not to go. It was because of requiring that.
You could have a building in town a commercial building that didn't meet that requirement either.
That's correct. And unless they've made a 50,000 plus
So
improvement,
They were over.
So you would be expecting more of this person that's coming in. However, they're asking to come in. So an expectation could be different for them.
Right.
You're providing them with, they're asking for water, more than likely.
some things to chew on. We'll have some more discussion in closed session on economic development pieces to this. But we just want you guys to think about that, and if you have any feedback for us coming forward on these things. We've had at least one or two even lately. Do we allow them? We had one where they had their well had failed, and they already touched the city limits. It probably was as costly to install city water than it would be to do a new well. And so, is there any appetite for that? Do we bring that here, and do we have a negotiation with them? So those will occur, and they will continue to occur over the future of this. But we just want to bring that to y'all's attention and just let you chew on it for a little bit. No decision needs to be made today.
And like I said, staff will continue to do some research gathering and look at, policies and things that maybe make sense from other similar communities, what they're doing. And when we bring this back to you guys, we wanted to introduce this topic. And then when we bring this back to you guys, we'll be looking at some of those other similar cities and how they treat these kinds of things.
That's all we got to spare. All right, thank you.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Item number 12, consider and take appropriate action on staff recommendation to request the combined award of the Potter Regional Appraisal District to continue the current level of intergovernmental cooperation. Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have had some discussions with our other taxing entities. There has been some conversation on the Potter County side of the appraisal district about possibly separating. It is in our best interest as one of the taxing entities that does pay to PRAD that we continue to work through a cooperative intergovernmental relationship. We believe if that does happen and those ties are severed, it will be a difficult sever first and foremost, as well as our costs will inevitably go up. And I'm not just saying for the city of Kenyon, but I'm also talking about our county, where we also pay county taxes as well. those will go up as well, and our school district. It's just inevitable that those will go up. We've put a sample letter in here. Mr. Path, the city manager of Amarillo, and I have had lots of conversations. We had a very good virtual meeting with a lot of the other entities and a lot of their legal counsels on this, just to continue to have a good faith effort to try and work the differences out and not split. And so the letter that Mr. Path has helped, along with Brian McWilliams over there, I think really speaks to the spirit of that. You know, we're not trying to be heavy-handed. We would love to see this organizations continue to go as they are. They've had a lot of great years of success. We do find out that it is unusual to have appraisal districts with 2 counties. They're the only one in the state of Texas that way, so it is unusual. But I know there was no challenges over the last 38 years on this, but we do know there's discussion. So I have included a sample letter in here. I would recommend to send this letter on behalf of the city to say, hey, we would like to see continued fruitful conversations, as well as having some type of meaningful continued intergovernmental relationship here for effectiveness on cost.
I told Joe and read through the letter, to me, it looks like it's real well written. You know, it does address concerns of increasing or lesser efficiencies, increasing tax burden on residents, but then also, it does also address concerns that maybe there's possible discussions on just the governmental part of it, specifically from the standpoint of Potter County. So not minimizing their concerns. So I think it's well written. So, but also encouraging, particularly that Potter board to stay. Yes.
Joe, did you say they're Potter Randall the only counties in the whole state that do this?
On the appraisal district, yes, ma'am, that's correct.
It's been 38 years.
There's not been any they have not had any changes to the agreement for 38 years, I think is what Jeffrey Daly told
Yeah,
us.
there were 3 agreements and the last one's like 87. So.
And that was when the law changed and stated that the appraisal district had to be in the whatever county it was in, that county had to be listed as
The main county.
The domiciliary county.
the first lien holder, had to be at the top of listed as control. The first agreement stated that Potter County was in control, but the building got built in Randall County.
That's when the population trend started to shift as well, Robin.
And think of when it was in 86 or whatever, as far as financially, those who was worth more, what county was worth more, what was going on more, and all of those things. And then when this change occurred, some of those dynamics had changed, and the state stated that's where it had to be, which was really kind of odd. If we're the only ones like that, there must have been some other places that actually had their office in the wrong county, or other counties were doing it for them, or something along the lines. They didn't write that for us, you wouldn't assume. And when they made that change, now everyone has ridden that since whatever, quietly, and been fine with that.
There's no other comments, we'd recommend authorizing the mayor to sign the letter on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second to authorize signing the letter that's in our package. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right, item number 13 is to consider and take appropriate action on proposed interlocal cooperation agreement with Randall County for use of the courthouse square during special events. John?
So Mayor, Joe has had conversations with the county judge, and I've been in contact with an assistant DA concerning, he's essentially streamlining the process for permitting special events. There are many special events that occur on the courthouse square, of course. Many members of the public are not aware that there is a shared jurisdiction between Randall County and the city pertaining to the area around the courthouse. Of course, the courthouse and the immediate grounds belong to Randall County, including the concrete pad where some activities occur during special events. I believe the consensus is be contingent, of course, on approval of the county commission. The consensus would be that anytime there is a permit request to the city of Canyon for a special event, that would streamline the process if we had an interlocal agreement between the city and county for the city to handle permitting for that event. And I think the county's, from what I've heard, in agreement with that. It would be only for special events. And it would be something like the 4th of July celebration, the Chamber of Commerce activities and that sort of thing. Anything that would require a special event permit. So we have worked with Daniel Trout in the DA's office with, preparation of a proposed interlocal agreement, which, of course, the function of an interlocal agreement is to try to increase government efficiency between two entities and to eliminate redundancy. And we believe that that helps to do that for the interlocal agreement purposes. So it's going to be on the county commission's agenda for the 23rd, as I understand it. And so our recommendation is that we adopt the interlocal lease agreement in cooperation with Randall County.
Was that their idea or our idea? Like, what problem are we trying to solve here?
When I heard about it, Joe and I were coming back from a meeting at Pratt, and shortly thereafter I was in contact with Daniel. So I believe it's something that Joe and the county judge had discussed before Daniel and I got involved.
She had presented it to me.
So do they have a preference? Will they be able to have a preference on what type of events are held there?
No, that will fall under our jurisdiction.
That's in the 1A.
Yeah, I saw it.
Something like it. And Chuck, really, as it stands, nothing changes other than we're gonna be in agreement with them, we're gonna pay $1.
Yeah, it's a nominal consideration lease.
We're gonna continue the process just like we've always done.
I think it clarifies things. So
Correct.
when the judge brought it to me, Cody, we were talking about the St. Anne's event that they do around the square where they walk. I'm trying to remember the name. I'm sorry. Joe Shane always missed
Some kind of walkathon deal.
Yeah, for something for the Catholic Church. And so he happened to send it to her too, just to hey, by the way, type of deal. And that's kind of what the problem is.
And also, it's one of those agreements that can be terminated on 60 days notice. So if either entity decides it's no longer working out for them, you write a letter and it's 60-day notice period.
Currently approves or denies applications.
We have been doing that.
The city has been already doing that.
Yeah. Most of the events are not solely on county property.
But the county has denied allowing people on their property before.
For private events, yes. Not for government.
Nothing we've seen.
Right. Like they won't allow a wedding out there. That's what I've been told. So if someone wanted to get married on the grass or something out there and have a big wedding, I've been told it's not allowed. Is that your understanding?
Well, but does that put that responsibility on us approving those or denying those based on that?
I think that would be a private event, not a public event, so that would not be approved. It would not be subject to a special meeting or a special event permit. It would not fall under our guidelines, our ordinance. It has to be some type of public event.
But no, in other words, we have a special event ordinance, so it'd have to fall under our ordinance.
Right. like a wedding like that would not. So we would not approve such an event.
Move to adopt the interlocal cooperation contract.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt the interlocal cooperation contract. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. Okay, item number 14, consider and take appropriate action on Texas Health Benefits Pool Board of Trustees election. Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is that time of year again, so I am up for nomination on the Texas Health Board. Texas Health Board is our insurance for our community, as well as many other communities in the region. I'm the Region 2 elected representative. I believe there's 16 regions total across the state. And then there's 4 or 5 appointed board members on that. I have been on there for nearly 5 years, I believe. So I would like to be nominated to continue my service on this board. Just as a reminder, this covers medical, prescription, dental, vision, the whole gambit. Current insurance is Blue Cross Blue Shield. Navitus is our prescription. We have had quite a few challenges working our way through COVID. I have had a lot of time in on this board. We meet quarterly. They control all my travel, so the travel is not coming out of our city budget. So that I'm not incurring any travel. But it is a very time-consuming and a very good board to be on. There are a lot of, there's about 28,000 lives in our group total. But very, very worthwhile board. We have worked through a lot of things with COVID. We had worked through a bunch of financial challenges. We incurred nearly 30+ million in COVID claims. Those that were not, and those claims were not subsidized by any government entity. While others got subsidies from the government for COVID claims, we took and hit all those costs. And so we had early on in the last several years, we had several struggles on the finance side, but we have made our way back up over several years to get there. So it's been quite a ship to ride, and insurance is an interesting thing to tackle. I'm sure we could talk for 3 hours about the good and the bad with insurance. Nonetheless, I'm very happy to continue to serve on this board. Oddly enough, I'm actually one of the longer tenured board members. They've had quite a bit of change over the last several years. The region, or just the whole board. But I serve on the Finance Audit Subcommittee. That's one of the most important subcommittees. That subcommittee meets the day before the full board meeting, and I'm also on the Legal Subcommittee. So, because I play an attorney on Law and Order SVU.
If I may, I think it's very beneficial to the city to have Joe representing to the city. He represents the state, but it's helpful to have him on there for our employees because he listens to our issues firsthand and he can report. There's a lot to do with discussions on cost. So.
And issues occurring a lot of times with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Move to nominate Joe Price, City Manager of the City of Canyon, for re-election to the Texas Health Benefits Pool Board of Trustees as a Region 2 rep.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Passes. All right, we will then adjourn into executive session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberations about real property, 551.074, personnel matters, assistant city manager. And with that, I've got 5:32, and we will adjourn into executive session.